Hope in the wilderness. The wind rolled low over the prairie, whispering across the brittle grass like a warning. Inside a small log cabin near the edge of the frontier, Clara Whitmore labored through her breath, face glistening with sweat. Her knuckles clutched the edge of a wool blanket, the pain surging through her body like wildfire. Her screams were muffled, not because she wanted silence, but because her husband had forbidden noise. "He'll be angry if he hears me," she whispered to no one, eyes darting to the empty door. Edgar Whitmore, her husband, was out hunting. He had left before dawn, muttering that he needed meat and peace. She had begged him not to go. Her time was nigh. But Edgar, all sharp jawlines, cold glaze, and heavy of fists, had no room in his world for weakness or women's fears. Clara bit down on a cloth as another contraction seized her. She was alone, just as she had been for most of her marriage. Hours later, as a late afternoon sun bled gold through the window, the cabin fell quiet. A fragile cry pierced the air. Clara, trembling and drenched in exhaustion, held her newborn child to her chest. A girl, with soft features and tiny, perfect fingers. Tears filled Clara's eyes, not just from pain, but joy. Despite everything, she had brought life into this hard land. "Eliza," she whispered, "you're mine. You're everything." The door slammed open. Edgar entered, rifle slung across his back, face hardened like sun-dried leather. The scent of blood and sweat clung to him. His eyes scanned the room until they settled on the swaddled bundle in Clara's arms. "A girl," he said, voice flat. Clara's lips trembled. "Yes, she's healthy. She's—" Edgar stepped forward. "I told you it better be a boy. She's still your daughter." "She's no child of mine," he snapped. "No man in my line births daughters first. You expect me to believe this is my blood?" Clara's chest tightened. "Edgar, how could you say that?" He turned from her, pacing. "I work this land. I break my back, and you give me a useless mouth to feed. Either you've failed your duty, or you've betrayed me." Her jaw dropped. "You're accusing me of what? Infidelity?" He didn't answer. His silence was worse than fury. When he turned back to her, his eyes were distant. "Cold. You have until morning," he said. "Take your bastard and go. You'll find no shelter here." "You're casting me out," she gasped, stunned. "You broke our vow when you gave me shame," he replied. "You can rot for all I care." And with that, he walked out, shutting the door as if ending a business transaction. Clara sat frozen, her child curled against her chest, unaware of the world's cruelty. Her tears fell freely now, not from pain, not from exhaustion, but from the realization that she had no home, no husband, and no one who cared whether she lived or died. That night, Clara did not sleep. She packed what little she could, a threadbare blanket, dried cornbread, a flask of water, and wrapped Eliza tight against her chest. Her body ached, still raw from childbirth, but she moved like a ghost. Silent, determined. Before the first light of dawn, she stepped outside. The prairie stretched endless in every direction, vast and uncaring. Clara looked once over her shoulder at the cabin, the place where she had hoped for a future and now left behind all certainty. She walked, one step, then another. The wind howled, and her legs trembled beneath her. But Clara walked, the cold earth and a warm fire. By the second day, Clara's legs trembled with every step. The vast prairie, once bathed in morning gold, had turned pale and cruel under a gray sky. The few crusts of cornbread she'd packed were gone. Her lips were cracked, and her milk threatened to dry, though baby Eliza whimpered for nourishment. Snow had not yet fallen, but the air bit through the fabric of Clara's thin shawl like broken glass. She had no direction, only the instinct to walk away. Away from the cabin, away from the man who had once promised to love her. She followed a frozen stream, hoping it would lead to a settlement, a barn, even a stranger's mercy. But the land remained empty. By dusk, Clara could no longer feel her fingers. Her boots were soaked from marshy snowmelt, and Eliza's cries had weakened to thin breaths. Her body screamed for rest. She stumbled into a cluster of trees at the edge of a wooded hollow, collapsed beneath a bent pine, and curled around her child like a dying creature. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Mama tried. Her vision blurred as sleep pressed down on her. She closed her eyes, not sure she'd ever open them again. Then, the soft crunch of snow. Footsteps. Clara stirred. A figure approached, tall, wrapped in animal furs, and bearing a bow across his back. His dark eyes were alert, scanning the shadows with a hunter's focus. When he spotted Clara and the bundle in her arms, his steps slowed. She opened her mouth, tried to speak, but her voice caught in her throat. The man knelt before her. He said nothing, but his movements were precise and deliberate. He reached into his coat, pulled out a water pouch, and gently lifted it to Clara's lips. She drank greedily, coughing. His voice came at last, low and calm. "You are not dead. That is good." He shifted to check on the baby, his brow tightening. "Too cold." "Please," Clara rasped. "My daughter." The man nodded once, then carefully gathered both mother and child in his arms. Clara tried to resist, out of instinct, but there was no strength left in her limbs. "Where?" she managed. "My people are near," he said simply. The world tilted. Clara felt the sway of his footsteps, the heat of his body, and then nothing. When Clara awoke again, warmth enveloped her. She lay in a buffalo hide bed inside a round tent. A teepee, she realized, with a fire crackling gently in the center. Eliza slept beside her, wrapped in soft, unfamiliar blankets. Her skin was pink again, breathing easy. A woman sat near the fire, grinding herbs. Another adjusted the smoke flaps above. Neither looked at Clara, but their presence radiated calm. Then the man entered, the same one who'd found her. He removed his snow-dusted cloak, revealing long dark braids and sharp, intelligent features. He sat cross-legged near the fire and finally spoke. "My name is Wicasa," he said. "You were nearly gone." Clara swallowed. "You saved us." "You saved yourself," he corrected. "You carried her all that way." Clara sat up slowly, wincing. "Why would you help me? I'm not one of you." Wicasa's gaze didn't waver. "You carry no rifle, no lies, only truth and pain, and you protect your child as a mother should." His words struck her harder than she expected. Clara blinked away tears. "Your man did this?" he asked gently. She nodded, unable to speak. Wicasa stayed into the fire for a long moment. "Many white men ride to take. Few ride to give. But I know not all are the same. I judge by the child. She has no guilt." Clara looked at Eliza, peaceful in sleep, unaware that her life had nearly slipped away. "You may stay," Wicasa said. "My people have food, shelter. You'll be watched, but not harmed." A part of Clara wanted to argue, to refuse out of pride. But pride had no place in survival. She bowed her head instead. "Thank you." The fire popped. Outside, a cold wind howled across the plains. But inside, a fragile peace had begun. Scars beneath the skin. Weeks passed. The snow thickened, blanketing the earth like a shroud. But inside the Sioux village, warmth bloomed in the most unlikely places. Clara had not only survived, she was healing. Each day she rose before the sun, wrapped Eliza in borrowed hides, and joined the women in their daily chores. She fetched water from the frozen stream, ground corn with weathered stones, and sewed crude but sturdy garments from deerskin. The tasks, though new, reminded her of the life she had once imagined as a settler's wife. A life Edgar had promised, then poisoned. But here, among strangers, Clara felt something unfamiliar: respect. The other women didn't ask about her past. They watched her with measured eyes, but not with pity. Some offered quiet nods of approval when she worked hard or soothed her child with a lullaby in a language they didn't know. It wasn't trust, not yet, but it wasn't rejection either. And always, there was Wicasa. He did not hover. He did not pry, but he saw her. When she struggled with firewood, he silently took half. When Eliza fell ill with fever, he brought her willow bark tea and stayed near the teepee through the night. He spoke sparingly, yet his presence anchored her in a world that still felt uncertain. One evening, as the wind howled low like a wounded animal, Clara found herself sitting beside him near the fire at the edge of the village. Eliza slept nearby, bundled in furs. Sparks drifted upward like fireflies. "Do you miss them?" Clara asked, surprising even herself. "Your people, your family before all this?" Wicasa didn't answer right away. His dark eyes followed the flames. "My wife died," he said finally. 2 winters ago. Her brother tried to make peace with settlers. They shot him. Came for us next." Clara's throat tightened. "I'm sorry. Grief is not unique to one people," he replied. "But it teaches us what kind of person we are, what kind we can choose to become." Clara looked down at her hands that had once churned butter and mended shirts, that had clutched Eliza through snowstorms and bled from exhaustion. "My husband blamed me for bearing a daughter," she said softly. "Said she couldn't be his, that I must have betrayed him." Wicasa turned his head. "Did you?" Her head snapped up, eyes wide. "No." He met her gaze, unblinking. "I believe you." Something passed between them then. Not romantic yet, but real. A thread. A recognition of wounds too deep to speak aloud. Clara exhaled slowly. "I feel like a ghost sometimes. Like I died out there on the prairie, and now I'm just walking." "You are not a ghost," Wicasa said. "Ghosts don't hold their children like you do. They don't weep when they think no one is watching." She blinked fast, swallowing emotion. "Ghosts don't smile, either," he added. "I don't smile," Clara replied, surprised. "You will," he said. They sat in silence. Not the kind that stretched awkwardly, but the kind that meant safety. That allowed 2 hearts to rest beside one another without demand. The fire popped and crackled, a soothing rhythm beneath the stars. "I used to think strength meant never crying," Clara murmured. "But now, I think strength is walking forward, even when it hurts." Wicasa nodded. "Yes, and letting others walk beside you, when you do." Her eyes drifted back to Eliza. The child stirred in sleep, her tiny hand flexing against the fur. Clara reached down, brushing her cheek. "She doesn't know any of this," she whispered. "She just needs love." "She has it," Wicasa said. "From you. From us." Clara looked at him. "Even though I'm not one of your people." He gave the faintest smile. "Sometimes the earth gives us family we did not expect." A sharp wind rattled the trees beyond the village. Clara shivered, not from cold, but from something awakening inside her. Something long buried beneath betrayal and silence. A seed of trust, of hope, of more. A home forged in fire. The thaw came slowly. Snow melted from the edges of the prairie, leaving behind wet earth and scattered tracks. In the Sioux village, saplings stirred, smoke thinned, and voices grew louder. With spring came travelers, traders, missionaries, and settlers, drifting along the edges of native lands, some seeking peace, others claiming ownership. One morning, as Clara gathered roots near the creek, a rider approached on horseback, bearing a rifle and a face she once knew all too well. Edgar. Her breath caught. Eliza, perched on her hip, squirmed at the sight of the stranger. Clara stepped back instinctively, heart pounding. He dismounted slowly, eyes raking over her, not with tenderness, but calculation. "You alive?" Edgar said flatly. "Townsfolk said you died." Clara stood still. "I should have. I came to bring you back," he said, brushing dust from his coat. "You've had your tantrum. It's time to come home." "This is my home now," she replied quietly. Edgar's expression darkened. "With them, you'd live among animals instead of your husband." Wicasa appeared then, silent as a shadow. He stood behind Clara, posture calm but coiled with quiet strength. Edgar narrowed his eyes. "So it's true. You did betray me." Clara felt her fury rise, but her voice was steady. "You betrayed me. You threw out your wife and child in winter. You let your pride mean more than your family. You were meant to give me a son. I gave you a daughter," she cut in, "and you saw shame instead of blessing." Wicasa stepped forward now. "Leave. She is not yours to command." Edgar sneered. "She's my wife." "No," Clara said, her voice like stone. "You broke that vow the moment you abandoned us." Silence stretched between them. Then a new voice spoke, calm, older, and authoritative. A missionary pastor from a nearby outpost had arrived with 2 scouts and was observing from the tree line. He'd heard word of a white woman living with the Sioux and had come to investigate. He stepped forward, eyes cautious but not unkind. "Mr. Whitmore, your wife's survival is no small miracle. That she and her child are thriving here speaks volumes. If you loved her, you would be grateful." Edgar scoffed. "She's been corrupted, stolen." The pastor glanced at Clara, then at Wicasa. "I see no chains, only choice." Edgar's face twisted, but he knew better than to draw his rifle surrounded by witnesses. Clara stepped forward. "I choose my daughter. I choose peace. I choose respect, and I will not return to a life where I am unloved and unsafe." Edgar stared at her for a long, bitter moment, then spat into the grass. "You were always weak." Clara didn't flinch. "And you were always afraid of love you couldn't control." He turned and rode away. The pastor lingered, eyes soft. "If you wish to return to town, I can offer escort and protection." Clara shook her head. "Thank you, but I'm not lost." He nodded, then left with his companions, riding after Edgar. When they were gone, Wicasa remained silent. He didn't ask her to stay. He didn't offer comfort. He simply stood beside her, and that was enough. Later, as the sun dipped behind the tall grass and Eliza slept peacefully by the fire, Clara and Wicasa sat side by side. "You didn't speak much today," she said. "I said what mattered," he replied. She looked at him. "What do I matter to you?" He turned to her, eyes unblinking. "More than the wind, more than silence, more than yesterday." Clara's heart beat hard in her chest, not with fear, but with certainty. "I want to stay," she said. "Not just to survive, to belong, to live." Wicasa reached out, gently brushing a stray hair from her cheek. "Then stay, not because you must, but because you are wanted." Outside the teepee, fireflies danced in the twilight, and a gentle wind carried the scent of sage through the grasslands. Clara leaned against him, eyes closed. She had been cast out, accused, nearly forgotten. But in the arms of strangers, she had found something truer than vows. She had found home.